everyone for joining us. We are happy to have you here. If you're not familiar with Women in Data, or if you're an existing member, we'd like to say welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Women in Data, our organization, is a diverse community full of data leaders, practitioners, learners, data citizen, all with a mission to increase diversity in data careers. And we do this through our three pillars, which is awareness, education, and advancement. So we are a global community of more than 50,000 people with members in 60 plus countries. We're always growing and looking for more chapters to open. So if you do have an opportunity, check out our website. We'd love to have a chapter in your local city there. We have chapters currently in 60 cities around the globe. So our community, a lot of people wonder, how do I get involved with Women in Data? First, we'd like to say, join our community. You can join our community for free. Not only will you be supported by other women in this industry, but you also have an opportunity to help guide and encourage other women in the industry as well. So we want to make sure that you have that opportunity to join our community. There is multiple ways to engage with Women in Data throughout the year. On demand, we have access to 300 plus courses through DataCamp, whether that's data science, ML, AI. All of those courses are available through DataCamp, through the membership, as well as our portfolio builder. So maybe you have those classes and experience, but you need more time in developing a project for your portfolio. That class is specifically for you. We have our podcast and job boards and career services to help you find a job or upskill your career, as well as we have member community question and answer to reference all of our members there and our member networking opportunities. On a quarterly basis, we do have global webinars that we host and chapter events, as well as various groups that we hold, whether that's our Data Viz Club, our Executive Data Forum, book clubs, growth groups, things like that, as well as life coaching and then workshops. On a yearly basis, we do have mentoring, which is, I think, one of our most popular programs that we offer. That's usually held in January. We also have our learning pathways, and upcoming soon here in August, we'll be having a datathon. Last year, we hosted a datathon, and we're excited to be offering that again for our members. And then leadership training, which is a new program that we will be offering in November. So if you want to get involved, we'll have more information on our Women in Data portal. You can check that out. But we are excited to be having our wonderful speakers today for this PepsiCo event. And I'm excited to introduce Anna Farbarav, Jenny O, and Kim Lyons for this event. Kim's going to be our moderator, so I'll hand it over to you, Kim, so you can take it away.
Thanks, Jenny. This is great. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Lyons, Manager of Digital Culture and Engagement at PepsiCo. I lead also the Digital Ambassador Program, a passionate group of individuals, change leaders that are committed to driving digital transformation in the organization. I also sit on the Strategy and Transformation DE&I Council, where we work very closely with Women in Data. And I'm privileged to be your moderator today as we discuss PepsiCo Labs. Very, very exciting. So we're joined today by two dynamic women, Jenny O and Anna Farborough, Senior Directors at PepsiCo Labs. Jenny and Anna, welcome. Please tell us more about your respective roles. I'll hand it over to you, Anna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Anna Farborough, and Jenny and I probably have the best job in PepsiCo. And my role is to partner with some of PepsiCo's leaders and experts on one hand, and with entrepreneurs and exciting startups, emerging technologies on the other hand. Together, we all try to solve some of the biggest challenges of our industry. I spent most of my career in CPG, so I was on the receiving end. I was the one dealing with the challenges we're trying to solve for many years. And on the personal note, I have 4 young children. We all recently moved from Israel to LA, so we're still adjusting, I think, wrapping up our first year here in the US.
Awesome. I totally second that. I do think we have the most fun jobs here at Pepsi. Hi, I'm Jenny O. So great to be here today and nice to meet you all. So as Anna said, we are part of the PepsiCo Labs team. And what we do is we really sit at the intersection between PepsiCo and the massive startup VC ecosystem to bring the best solutions into Pepsi to tackle our biggest problems. So I've been at Pepsi now for quite a while, 18 years. And so I've done my stint in various areas of the business. So I've had lots of fun roles like M&A, strategy, innovation, finance. But I do think, this is one of the most exciting roles we've had because we really get to see all the massive innovation that's happening externally and how PepsiCo is embracing that to really drive opportunities in our business. So on my personal note, I have 3 young kids, so not quite as many as Anna. Not that we're competitive. I recently moved from the East Coast. I was based out of New York City, working in the purchase office for a long time, but now I'm out here on the West Coast near like the Silicon Valley ecosystem. And so really enjoying that. So really excited to be here today and to talk more about PepsiCo Labs.
Thank you both and welcome again. The first question goes to Anna. I'd love if you could tell us more about PepsiCo Labs and its approach to startup innovation. For example, what is it? How does it work?
Oh, happy to. So like we mentioned, we try to solve big problems leveraging breakthrough technologies, but we have a very pragmatic approach to how we do this. And it all starts with what am I trying to solve? What is the biggest challenge? What is the need? What solving it means for the company? How does success look like? How does scale up look like? How will this integrate into the broader ecosystem? What are the relevant KPIs? And we go very deep. We spend a lot of time in trying to understand what is it that we're trying to solve. And once you have that, everything else is easier, right? It's easier to identify the right solution if you know the problem. It's easier to test it because you know which KPIs you're trying to test. So I guess in sum, our approach is 4 steps. We start with identify the need, then we scout globally for the solutions to find the best match against those needs. We do a bubblegum pilot, a super fast pilot, just to see if it works in a real world environment, right outside of the conference room, outside of the PowerPoint presentation. And then if it works, we scale globally to get the impact that works.
And if I could just add to that, Kim, just in terms of the opportunity that we're tackling. So, like I think we all know the amount of innovation, like the amount of money, brain power, talent that's going into drive innovation in the startup tech ecosystem. And as PepsiCo, there are definitely innovations out there in that ecosystem that has the potential to really transform what we do and the way we do business. So we're all about streamlining the whole process to find the best of those technologies and the most relevant to tackle our big priority use cases. And then, as Anna mentioned, we have this whole process that we've built over the past 5, 6 years to really find the best solutions, pilot them very rapidly and effectively in our organization with the right level of visibility and alignment, so that coming out of the pilot, we can make clear decisions as to whether there's a big opportunity to drive in our business. And then we partner with the business to really scale up that solution and embed it in the way we do things. So I just wanted to add.
Thank you, Jenny. And both of you mentioned the idea of solving big problems. And I know, Jenny, as we were preparing for today, you mentioned a little bit about your passion for this space, and you just mentioned your tenure here at PepsiCo. I'd love to find out more about why you think this is so important to PepsiCo at this point in time. Why PepsiCo believes that's so important to partner with these startups right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like PepsiCo's journey, like even in the time that I've been here, right, and the way we used to think about innovation, like if you talked to me 18 years ago and asked me what we were doing on innovation, a lot of that conversation would have been on products, like what new products are we innovating on? But now when we talk about innovation, it's really thinking through every single element of our business, like the way we grow potatoes, the way we manufacture and leverage AI to optimize manufacturing, the way we deliver our products, the way we execute and plan our portfolio and deliver and, manage the whole front line, our frontline sales tools. And then getting into marketing, not to even start on consumers and how we relate to them. So it's really about driving that digital transformation throughout every single area of our business. And I think that's why it's so important. That's why I get so excited, because like the way we think about innovation, it really touches I think I see that a lot of the attendees on the call, I think are, internal at PepsiCo. It really touches all of us. I bet you in everyone who's attending the call today, a part of your job is really about driving innovation. And that's what's so exciting to me because it is so important that we all think about how do we do this better? How do we do this differently? In addition to delivering, the best innovation on the product side as well.
Yeah, and I think kind of I can build on that. So I haven't been in PepsiCo for 18 years, but I've been kind of in the business or working for at least that time. And we all know how things have changed. Uh, when you think of the companies speak about the consumer, the evolving needs of consumer, but there is a lot of evolving corporate side as well, from employee, but also from the operation side. And that is what we're trying to address. And what we see is that I think we would all agree that the pace of innovation is really dictated by startups. The world moves as fast as the startups. And the only way for us to kind of keep up with that is by integrating that external technology into PepsiCo in the optimal way, because it's not easy combining the two worlds, the world, cutting edge emerging technology that are very small, nimble, fast, with the massive PepsiCo machine. Bring the two together. This is where the secret sauce, and this is probably where Jenny and I spend the right days in trying to kind of match make those two parties that are very different.
Yeah, and not to say that like every single bit of innovation that's going to impact PepsiCo comes from the startup ecosystem, but it's, obviously we have the massive partnerships with the big technology players and the big partners in the world, right? Like the Microsofts and the SAPs. But in addition to those large, partners that we have and the collaboration we're working on in those areas, there are definitely areas, especially in more emerging cutting edge areas where startups really are leading the innovation because they are so laser focused on, one particular area of technology or one particular application. So that's really what we're trying to bring into PepsiCo in a very complementary way to everything else that we're driving into both internally as well as with like the big partners of the world as well.
And Jenny, is there an area of innovation that you're most excited about for the future?
I think there are many, but I mean, definitely one that is top of mind right now has to be AI. And not to say generative AI in particular, although that is generating so much interest, but just more broadly. And I know the next of these discussions is going to be Athena on ethical AI. But if you just look about the if you just think about the broad applications of AI across our business, there are so many opportunities, right? And going hand in hand with data and analytics. But then AI on top of that is just so exciting to think about and the different applications that we're starting to see, that we're starting to bring into our business. And, generative AI is one element of that. I know there are things that we need to figure out because it comes with a lot of other considerations. But I think just more broadly, AI is really interesting. And then I'm sure Anna's got others, but like sustainability technology is also interesting. What we're doing on personalization at scale, which is a huge focus in our consumer organization around marketing and commercial. So that's another really, really exciting area as well.
And the same question to you. Do you have any particular area that you're most excited to work with?
Yes, of course. We just spent a whole week, couple of weeks ago, with our warehouse automation experts, automation and engineering experts. And the way we look at the future of our supply chain, the way we look at how we will make it move our product is really changing and adjusting to the changing kind of to the dynamics, to the new dynamics in the market. And we are moving from mostly VSD to a variety of different ways that we can deliver our products to different customers, big or small, consumer or retail. And that really requires us to think differently about how we actually move our product. So we are in this amazing, I guess, point in time where we're rethinking everything. So from, new ways to automate and move the product within our warehouses to new ways to deliver the product. Do we think of Git? Do we think of, drones if I go really into the future? Because honestly, putting more big trucks into our roads doesn't make sense today with the way our cities look and with the way our even our delivery has changed, because we moved from moving a lot of bulky boxes, truckload truck into smaller items. Some customers take 2 bags of Cheetos and then 1 bag of Lay's. You cannot just send the truck. So I think This is super exciting because PepsiCo is so embedded that our supply chain is one of our core capabilities. And being kind of in the center and able to influence how this will evolve is super interesting too.
Anna's in those emotions where she's doing like self-driving trucks and robots in factories. She's got all the cool stuff. So I have cool stuff too. She has a lot of
And
fun.
I love that I can hear, and I'm sure the audience can hear as well, the passion in your voices as you talk about this. You can really see that you are doing right now what you love. And that's awesome. And in terms of looking at identifying potential startups, what criteria do you use for selection?
Sorry, do you want me to start on that? Anna, do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Well, either. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big parts to our process is investing time upfront to define exactly which areas we're going after. Like, what are the big priorities we're trying to solve and specific problems within those. So as we go through that process in partnership with our business leaders, functional leaders, we really define what are the kind of key attributes, key capabilities we're looking for in those solutions in those particular areas. So that really helps guide us as we reach out to our external ecosystem of 200 plus VCs, and we're getting lists of 400 or 500 startups that we need to evaluate. So, as we go through those startups, obviously, some of the common things we're looking for, often we get tons of startups in that space, but not necessarily relevant exactly to the use cases that we've spent time defining and honing. So relevance, but then we're really looking for solutions that are advantaged. So, there are sometimes, a bucket of solutions that seem to be very similar. So we're looking for things that are advantaged. Obviously, startups that have some experience working with large enterprises. Uh, and then, obviously, we're looking for those specific capabilities that we outlined in the brief, but then also looking for opportunities to scale a particular solution as well. So we're also looking for scalability as we assess the different solutions.
And I would like to, if I can add, I think there's a few kind of basic principles that we try to follow. I think one of them is objectivity. So we go and we look locally for the solution. We want to find the best one, not necessarily the one we met at a conference or friend's daughter's dog story. Um, I think the second principle would be needs to address the PepsiCo problem because we all have the same kind of shiny toy uh, risk, right? So we all like, it's all very cool. It's all robots. It's all driving trucks, and it's all very, very fun. But then we need to anchor this on what are we actually trying to solve, and that will be the second principle. So it needs to be pragmatic and addressing our specific. Then probably the third principle, like Jenny mentioned, is scalability. We are a big company. It is easier to solve for one warehouse. It is really complicated to solve for 1,000 warehouses or 5. And we need to make sure that we solve for all of PepsiCo. In a company like ours, if we cannot make a difference at a global level or at a large sector level, we're not moving it. Yeah, I would say those are probably the top three. So objectivity, scalability, and then solving for PepsiCo.
Yeah. And I think by going through this evaluation, we can really feel confident that coming out of the whole like scouting phase that we do in partnership. So when we run a program, we'll define the needs, we'll go out, look for the right solutions, cast the net out wide, but then put them through a very rigorous filter to land on maybe the 10 to 15 that we think are really advantaged for a particular program. And that's what we bring back to introduce to the broader organization. So at that stage, we feel pretty confident that, we might have not seen every single startup out there, but we have a really, critically evaluated and selective set of startups that are most relevant to our use cases, which is, I think, the kind of capability that we've helped to establish in the organization, because it's not that startups weren't reaching out to us before, but as Anna said, didn't, because they were coming in from all different angles, someone who knew someone who knew someone. And we didn't have a process to be very systematic about making sure that we were looking comprehensively and finding the best solutions.
And thank you. And I think this you may have already answered this when it comes to mind. How do you ensure that the startups that you choose are in line with our corporate social responsibilities and commitments, the goals that we have set aside for ourselves as a company?
Yeah.
Jenny, maybe she'll start and let Anna.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are several layers of that. So one of the layers is that, our PepsiCo positive goals, our ESG goals are really interwoven into how we do business right now, right? I mean, there's still a ways to go, but that's really the objective of what we're trying to do as a company. So as we work with the business, some of the big terrains coming through are very much in line. And because we're trying to further sustainability or we're trying to further goals around, access or things like that. But so it's coming through to some extent in the terrains and the way we develop the briefs. Another dimension is that, we have also embraced those objectives as well as PepsiCo Labs. So as we go through and filter for startups, we are looking at DE&I founder startups to see how many more of those we can involve in our programs. So definitely that's a question that we ask of, when we get to a certain stage where we're narrowing down startups to really move forward with, we do pay attention to the DE&I objectives. And then we as PepsiCo Labs, again, have thought through, do we want to potentially run a DE&I startup programs where we're really just focused on DE&I startups and DE&I objectives. So that is something that we're working on right now. But I think that's how we kind of layer it into the different areas that we work on.
And I would like to add kind of one more layer is actually for startups or even any startup that goes into a program, even if they're not addressing a sustainability or ESG use case. As part of our due diligence, there is an ESG component. So in the same way that we measure their stability and their financial kind of ability to support PepsiCo and the quality of their leadership and technology and IP, we also look at the ESG matrix to make sure that we are partnering with the right things.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And you also, you mentioned, Anna, earlier, objectivity was one of the key attributes you look for that. And I look into when assessing new companies. And I know it as PepsiCo, we are a data-driven organization. So let's go really into the KPIs. What kind of KPIs do you currently use in terms of assessing what may be a good fit?
That's a great question. So I think that we use data in every step of the process, and there are KPIs that are relevant for each step. When you think of filtering through the companies, many times we do a side by side because it's many times you would need 2 or 3 companies that, at least on paper from our initial evaluation, sound the same. So you really need to put them to the test. And we've developed, it's very nerdy, but it's a spreadsheet with over 100 points, different buckets of addressing, the technology, scalability, stability of the company, strength of the leadership, as well as their ability to address the critical points. And then we would just test both. And there is a score. So again, very, very nerdy, but there's a score for each of those companies to make sure that we are very, very objective and it is not based on any biases, right? Relationship biases or, style or approach, etc. And then with each and every pilot, because we know what we're trying to solve, we go into the pilot with specific KPIs. And this is what we're looking to address through the pilot. We identify what is in scope, what is out of scope, because you cannot boil the ocean with one small pilot. That is, only takes a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And we make sure to pre-align with both the startup and the PepsiCo team what is success coming after. Because the worst thing that can happen is if we finish and then the startup thinks that this was a great success and they've delivered, and the PepsiCo people say, nah, right? So we need to make sure this is very clear and very transparent before we even start. And then also skill, right? If we know this is successful, what does that mean? Because another bad thing that can happen to our relationship with startups is if the pilot was successful, but then nothing happens. So they basically wasted their time. And also for ourselves, for our own credibility, if we said this is a big problem and this solution is the right one, and we've proven this out in pilot, how do we take this to impact the whole company? All Jenny and I care about is we are measured on how much dollars we've helped the company grow on the top line or how much savings we help the company generate. It's not about the number of pilots or the number of programs or the number of exciting engagements and matchmaking opportunities. It's all about.
Yeah. So the only thing to add to that, like as Anna was saying, it's really about the impact. So with each pilot, we go in with a very clear pilot charter of what is the big business opportunity we're tackling with this startup, and then what are we trying to prove in the pilot, and what are we expecting in terms of the key benefits, And that really helps us distill down to what we're measuring in terms of the KPIs from the pilot. So we have big buckets of benefits expected, then those buckets obviously translate into metrics that we want to measure throughout the pilot. It is supposed to be a rapid pilot, but rapid but thorough, but we don't want to get stuck in analysis paralysis. So we don't want to do like 500 metrics, but at the same time, we really pinpoint the ones that are the big lever driving things to then drive the business impact.
Thank you. Um, what I was thinking, in terms of where we are as a company, I know that we are committed to continuous improvement at PepsiCo all the time. We're an agile company. So in terms of thinking of that, how do you ensure continuous improvement is in the innovation process? Jenny.
We are constantly challenging ourselves on how we improve our process and like how do we drive better impact. And something that we're really focused on this year is improving the way we scale up. So we have had successful scale ups, but they've been really, as Anna knows, and as we both know, like really heavy lifts. So we want to get a lot more systematic, lift and shift best practices from one scale up to the next. While they do look very different depending on which area of the business, which function we're scaling up with. To date in the past 4, 5, 6 years, as we've mentioned, we really honed the whole process of running a program, scouting, defining territories, defining briefs, scouting, piloting. But scale up is one thing we can continuously improve this year. And then beyond this year, we're really now starting to think about how do we drive more impact in Horizon 2, Horizon 3. To date, I think we've really been about trying to demonstrate relatively near an impact. So I would say Horizon 1, Horizon 1.5, maybe inching towards 2. But how do we start, thinking more ahead and investing in the future, whether it's building and testing new business models? I think those are the things that we're constantly challenging ourselves with. We're a small team, but we're a very like open team in terms of throwing ideas out there and seeing, where we can go with it. So that's one of the things I think we love about our job, the fact that we can ideate and think about like, where do we want to take our team and how do we drive this continuous innovation forward?
And I'm going to add to that. I think we're like the startup within PepsiCo. We're 12 people now. We're still very fast, very kind of involved. We change. I think our process keeps improving with every immersion, with every new function that we work with. We get this feedback, we incorporate it immediately, and we just keep evolving. So the process, and it has a few specific steps, but it's live, and we keep adding more and more things to just improve it and make it even better.
I peeked at both of your LinkedIn's before this, and what you're saying in terms of a continuous improvement, and it sounds like it's mimicking what you're doing in your professional lives. And I'd love if you can speak a little bit about that, how you found yourself to be PepsiCo Labs, and how you have kind of used that philosophy of continuous improvement for yourselves in your own career. Jenny, please.
I I've had probably a non-traditional career path at Pepsi. So as I mentioned, I've been here 18 years. My prior life to that, actually, I was a lawyer. I grew up in Sydney. I went to law school, decided that I wanted to get some broad business experience and go overseas. So I joined consulting. So I was doing management consulting for a number of years. I worked in finance and private equity, and then slowly started migrating to the US. And then I joined PepsiCo. So I've had roles across M&A, strategy, finance, innovation. And for me, rather than following a more traditional function oriented career path, I've really pursued opportunities that have excited me and challenged me. And, where I felt like I could leverage the critical capabilities I had built, but also, expanding and building new experiences as well. And I think that's how I found myself in this role, which in some ways, I feel like it's a perfect marriage of like the business development strategy, innovation, finance experience I've had. But I think I would encourage everybody who's on this call, and I'm sure you all do it already, but just kind of like look at I feel like, even PepsiCo, even though we're relatively traditional corporations, there are so many different roles emerging that we would have never thought about, right? Like there are huge arms of the organization that have really evolved over the past 5 years. And then like groups like us, which a lot of people may not have heard of before. Whenever Anna and I go out and talk to people, they're like, "What? You guys exist? How do we join your team?" So it's just cool to see and talk to people at PepsiCo and see what else is out there, because there are new opportunities coming up all the time.
And Anna, same question.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jenny said it perfectly. I think we have, although very different career path, but a similar mindset. So I was always looking, and I started in finance as well, finance and strategy, and that went into investments and strategy and then PepsiCo Labs. And I think what I was constantly looking is to challenge myself. I don't like the status quo sort of being comfortable. I'm constantly looking for new things to do, which comes from I'm very curious. I'm always looking to learn new things and push myself. I like to jump into deep end. But the scarier it is, the better. Right? Like, change the wheel.
But
Yeah.
I think I think the challenge now for us is, how do we find the next opportunity that's as fun within PepsiCo, right? So we're
The
like,
bunch were not, nobody left for a team. We had one person leaving the team and he retired. So it was really, it had no choice. But that's it. Nobody's leaving PepsiCo Labs. It's really hard to follow.
that's the other incentive for us for continuous innovation and evolving our team, so we can grow our roles and find new roles within our team and
Yeah.
define the next roles.
And this is an amazing thing about PepsiCo because we got a complete white paper, right? We didn't have a process. It's not a typical, and I spend most of my life in corporate. Usually you step into a role, 10,000 people did it before you, 10,000 people are doing it at the same time. There's a very clear framework that you need to follow. And then sometimes you can change around the edges, right? You can expand your kind of areas, but it's pretty much the same. Here we have a white paper. We had no guidance. It was more like, go figure out how PepsiCo should partner with startups. So what is the value? How do you do that? What problems do you go after? What is the operating model? Everything had to be laid out. And I think ever since we've been kind of expanding this, adding more color to this white paper. And this is what's fascinating, right? I think PepsiCo gave us full support. Everybody we worked with gave us full support to kind of stretch our abilities and then stretch PepsiCo's abilities in this area. And that's amazing especially for a big company.
Yeah. And looking at some of the comments, I agree. I think it is like a startup to some extent. Like, we got to write our own white paper and, fill that out. But what makes us so powerful is that we have the might of PepsiCo behind us. And so, we definitely leverage all of our networks across PepsiCo. We definitely play within the PepsiCo, some of the frameworks, because that helps us really mobilize and get embedded into PepsiCo. Like, so we don't work in, the difference for us is that, we don't work in isolation, like necessarily some startups within a corporation. We are very much hand in hand and embedded into our business. So, when I run a program with our marketing team, we basically function as one team, and same with Anna with warehouse. Like, we're meeting with them 5 times a day, constantly Zoom chatting. We're together like in lockstep in identifying the partners, talking to all of our business stakeholders. So I think that's the key difference for us. So we've been given leeway to kind of operate in our own area, but we very much play with PepsiCo because that is the unique power of PepsiCo, right? As we all know.
That sounds amazing. And if a startup or PepsiCo business owner wants to collaborate or play with PepsiCo Labs, what is the best way to approach you?
I think most approachable team. Now it's very easy to find us. We're very much out there for internal PepsiCo people. We always answer our emails. And I personally take multiple Zoom calls a day with people who are, I want to learn more. And if I want to get into innovation, how should I do it? So I do a couple of those a week with people I don't even know from all PepsiCo. And outside of PepsiCo as well, we are out there at conferences, social media. We have a website. Every time we have a scouting effort, which is probably the best time. If you are targeting a specific need, this is the best time to approach us. And we try to put it out there wherever we can. We are searching for actively online, but we also reach out to our friends and family in the VC ecosystem. We post everything on social and on our website. We have an application form. Everything's been filtered and kind of analyzed, and we respond to everything. So um, I would say it's not very hard. We're very we don't hide.
Yeah. Yeah. So for startups, as Anna mentioned, website, LinkedIn are probably the easiest. And timing wise, was I mean, it makes the most sense when we're actually scouting for a particular program, but we're happy to like meet with startups, evaluate and put them in our database, if they're in relevant areas, even if it's out of program cycle. Internal people similar to Anna, like I, talk with people that reach out to me, multiple times a week. So if you're curious, if you want to learn more, if you want to find opportunities to work with us, reach out to us, um, and be happy to chat.
Jenny, I feel like we might get no, it's a request.
I think you're going to get a deluge of people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Happy to chat.
Yeah. I know we do have some questions here. Before we go to the questions, just have one more question for each of you to answer, actually, and that is, what would you like your audience to leave with today? If you could have one message to get across about PepsiCo Labs, about your career, what is that one message you'd like the audience to walk away with, really thinking about? And this is for both of you. So Anna, could you go first, please?
I can start. I think if it was one thing is that for everybody to know, PepsiCo has this ability, right? We have this amazing muscle. We are able to successfully partner with startups. We create win-win for everybody. The company PepsiCo benefits by solving the biggest needs. Startups benefit because we are such a big player. Usually we become one of their largest customers, so they get revenue. This is what they're looking. And if everybody's aware, then we will get our internal kind of deal flow of problems to solve that will keep us growing and keep us relevant. And the startups will continue to to send their solutions and partner with us, which is what we need, right? So I think the more exposure and the more visibility we give to this amazing kind of capability that we've built within PepsiCo, we just want to do more programs. We want to do more and solve problems and partner with more PepsiCo.
Yeah. And mine would be very similar to that. So I think for PepsiCo people, like to think about the opportunities to leverage this capability, like how could we potentially partner together to bring in the right solutions and drive impact in the business. And then for any startups who are joining today, yeah, I mean, we're really here to make life easier, both for PepsiCo and for the startup as well, and to facilitate and find the biggest opportunities, find the right way for startups to engage in the most streamlined and effective, impactful way at PepsiCo. So,
thank you. And now to our question. So this one's from Angel and to both of you. What's the approach you have with Latam, not only finding those problems you're talking about, but also searching? Oh, and it just kind of went away. But also, but also searching those innovative solutions and companies from Latam.
Oh, that's oh, go ahead.
Sorry, was it Latte?
Yeah.
Latam.
Oh, okay.
It's great timing because actually Jenny and I are traveling to Brazil in a couple of months to meet the ecosystem there. I think we've been partnering with LATAM amazingly. They have a great team. They're very much innovation kind of forward looking. They're excited to get it. They test it. They move super fast. So we are fans of the sector. We have a few solutions that are already scaling across LATAM or kind of in the process to be scaled, solutions that were tested in other sectors. We even have one solution that was piloted first, UBQ, it's recycled. It started in LATAM with replacing some of our crates and plastic pallets. Really amazing. Takes, if I give you like a 20-second, it takes the wet waste, everything that cannot be recycled. So when you take out the plastic and the metal and everything that's valuable, so really the dirty dumpers, it takes that and recycles that in plastic. So an amazing sustainability solution. And LATAM was the first one to pilot to successfully scale it. And we're now taking this across to other sectors like Europe and PBNA and PFA. So we work very closely, especially with, our leadership team. And in terms of connecting to the ecosystem to source solutions, so yes, this is a new challenge that we have taken upon ourselves. We are now mapping some key stakeholders. We're already speaking to VCs, and we're traveling to meet the ecosystem in person.
Yeah. So just echoing that, like I think LATAM, the PepsiCo LATAM sector is one of the most dynamic, innovative sectors, and with a huge appetite to drive innovation. Stemming all the way down from Paula into her XCOM, and then all the other businesses and functions. Like I think there is, as Anna mentioned, a real appetite to drive innovation and test some of these solutions. So we actually had Paula bringing her XCOM team out to Silicon Valley to meet the most innovative startups late last year. And there was a lot of engagement and excitement. And, some work has come out from that in terms of bringing startups in. So we feel like we've got great engagement with our sector and in marketing and other areas as well. What we're trying to build now is making sure that we bring in more solutions that are relevant to LATAM markets as well as other areas of our business. So, to date, I would say our most extensive VC startup ecosystem networks have been more in the US and Europe. And we're trying to build out our LATAM ecosystem as well as adding a couple of people in India actually on our team to help with the scouting efforts over there so that we're finding the right solutions for, markets that may be more developing or emerging, whether it's in LATAM or elsewhere.
Thank you. And the next question is for Sam. He said, I'd love to get connected with startups and innovators in this space. I lead the AI ML for net revenue management. Are there conferences, companies, events that I might get tapped into?
Jenny, you want to go?
Sorry, is that Sam Raznikal?
It is, yeah.
Why don't we catch up offline so I can definitely point you to some. Anna also attends a lot of conferences as well. So between us, I'm sure we can put together a list for you. And I'm sure you already attend quite a few already. So we can cut out the overlaps.
Yeah. And actually, if I can add like a trip to conferences, many of them are overwhelmed. So I think if you spend some time before in preparing for the conference, starting with what are you trying to get? Is it networking? Is it sourcing a new solution? Is it learning about kind of new emerging areas, etc.? And then with that, you go in more prepared. You can build your plan because I think many conferences we just walk around the expo hall, which is really over. Like really, it's your like in a bazaar. Especially when you go with a Pepsico logo and everybody's just trying to sell you things. So I think for me, the main kind of success driver of conferences, and I do go to a lot because they're part of what we do in PepsiCo Labs, is knowing exactly what am I trying to achieve in each specific conference. Right? Do I want to listen to the content? Do I want to connect with other people doing the same job as other companies to learn about their approach to constantly evolve what we're doing? Or am I looking to scout for specific solutions? And then I have my list, the pre-filtered list of companies that I want to meet.
Yeah. And Sam, I think I would add to that, like often, we go to the conferences for all of those things, but the scouting and meeting the startups, definitely conference is one way to do it. And you might get some interesting leads, but oftentimes there's a lot of other crap there as well, I can say. And so, I think you want to let's chat about it, but like if there are specific areas that you're looking to meet startups and take innovators in, it might be best to go through other means as well, like reaching out to VCs that we know kind of focus on those areas. So I think conferences is one way to get a kind of a pulse check or a temperature check and learn a little bit, or potentially even just put our news out there. And we often use it for marketing purposes as well. But I think if we want to really meet startups, we want to look more comprehensively.
Thank you. And this is from Katerina. She's curious to know what both of you, your favorite success stories at PepsiCo Labs are. Maybe perhaps a great team you've met, a great product you've tested, a great impact that has caused. I love this question because really going towards, we are a culture of innovation. We are a culture of a digital mindset, and sharing stories is how we send forth the culture. It's how we grow the culture. So thank you, Katerina. Jenny and Anna, this is for both of you.
You want me to start? I love that question too. So many exciting successes, just a few on the commercial side, which is the side that I lead. So on the marketing side, there's a solution called Creative X, which is actually female founded. And we brought them in through our program about 3 years ago. And now we've really embedded them across our internal platforms. And what the solution does in a nutshell is test our digital marketing content before we air it. So making sure that, our products appear within a certain number of seconds before people can skip ad, or like there's certain type framing. So for every single different platform like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, like it's, meeting the right requirements for content respective to that platform. So it's testing. Before we brought in CreativeX, we were putting out their content, believe it or not, without doing any testing. So we actually did a study as we were testing CreativeX and found that over 90% for a certain brand in a certain market, the brand or the product wasn't appearing before people could skip the ad, which is startling, right? And now we've brought in that solution, and every marketeer globally has access to it, and it's becoming embedded in the way we do things and being incorporated into people's KPIs. So that's a great success story on the marketing side. In terms of what I'm excited by, we recently had our marketing immersion just about a month ago, and we saw some amazing solutions. So we're just in discussions now about which of those 10 solutions we want to pilot. So some really exciting ones. So watch this space.
And Anna,
It's
same
a hard
question.
question. It's like, who's your favorite child?
Who is your favorite child?
Who is it? So within that kind of make and move the operation side that I will give you one example in agriculture, sustainability, and then one in manufacturing. And then I'll try to give you kind of a bit of context. So I don't know if many know, but despite water challenges in different parts of the world, most of the crops are still irrigated by flood, right? Like you can imagine rice fields or a lot of water being kind of shed into a field, which creates a lot of waste. It washes off the chemicals that are very expensive, and the crop yield is not optimal. One of the solutions that we brought into the company, and we are now scaling across the MESA and going into Europe and big parts of the US as well, is drip irrigation. So drip has been around forever. It's what you can imagine, and right, kind of drip per plant versus water flood. But drip was very expensive for crops that are low cost, like corn, uh, or rice or others. So the solution called NDrip provides low cost drip irrigation. By integrating that, you can actually save over 50% of the water. You reduce the cost of chemicals that you spend. And the yield is actually higher by up to 15 and 20% is what we saw. And when you think of the farmers that tend to be, especially in the MESA where you have many smallhold farmers that are not, this makes them so much more resilient to the different changes in climate, right? Because they're not dependent on having a lot of water. That one of the challenges having water, but also the right time, is they can control their water supply because they can now trip this. This makes them, they grow more sustainably, and they're more resilient to support their families, right? So when you think of markets like India that is growing double digit, just imagine the number of potatoes that we need to procure every year, number of crops to bring into it. So that is amazing. That again, it's that win-win-win. Everybody. There is nothing bad to say about this. And another one is in manufacturing. Also a solution called Agree. We've already implemented that across North America, now going into Latin. And this is again very simple when you think of the machines that are manufacturing line. We have many moving parts. Some of the assets are critical. So same as your engine in your car, right? If the engine breaks down, the car cannot move in. And one of the measures in manufacturing that we track is unplanned downtime. What is the amount of time that our lines couldn't run because something broke? And the same as our car, that you know how there's sometimes a strange noise. Now you drive your car, you hear something that is not usual. You don't know what that is, and you just hope that you will get to your garage in time and you will not break down side of the road. So Angori is that it is able to listen to those abnormalities and tell you this is about to change it now in your next scheduled maintenance window and avoid the end. So ever since at least at the end of a pilot, I don't want to give numbers because it's across thousands of assets already. But during pilot, we had zero on. So we moved from, a number that we were trying to improve to zero, completely no unplanned downtime. We were able to fix everything within the schedule, maintenance.
That's amazing. Do we have that for cars? Can we
I
find
know
that?
it.
Wow. And one last one, I actually going to put them together. It's from Katerina and Angel. One is, is there any specific background for people who want to join PepsiCo Labs? And also, how large is your team again?
So we have, well, oh, no, actually now 13. We just
We
had a
have
new
one
person.
new team member today. Is it Georgina?
But in terms of background, we're pretty diverse. So, Anna and I have somewhat of a similar background, but we also have a lot of differences too. David, who leads our team based out of Israel, some overlaps, strategy, finance, innovation, but we also have people who came from commercialization, people who came from finance. So, but I think a common trait, I think it's more about critical experiences, but also like common traits across our team. And it's like the ability to think critically and strategically, because, for us, we have to help the business prioritize constantly, and think through, some businesses come to us with very clearly defined opportunities. Other times we're partnering with the business to really understand their strategy, where the critical challenges or unlocks are, and where we think emerging solutions can help us. So being able to help shape that thinking together with our business leaders is huge. And then, I think what I love about my job, but also I think it's also a critical skill as well, is the ability to think strategically, but be very action oriented and marrying those together. So, I've done roles in the past where it's all been strategy up here, but, we have to execute. We have to say, okay, we come to this roadblock. How do we figure this out? How do we get around it? What's the different approach? And constantly drive to action and progress. So ability to think creatively, but also be very, very action oriented. So I think it's more about the critical skills than necessarily the critical experiences.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think we're very diverse in our backgrounds. So as long as you have a mindset, and I would add a few other skills that I think are critical. One is team player. We are ultra collaborative, right? We would partner with everybody. It's almost like, we would give credit to everybody. Our success depends on the success of our business partners, of our startup partners. And we are almost the glue many times. And we bring many people together, PepsiCo and externals. And we play that role. So I think you need to be a team player. There's no solo plays on our team at all. Another one is, I think, kind of natural curiosity. We keep learning and diving into new areas, right? Every program usually is either a new function or a whole new technology. So how can you go very deep on something that's completely new and enough to be dangerous, because you are working with the business experts who know the topic so well? So how do you even have a conversation with those people who know so much more and have experience? And yeah, I guess be critical, right? We challenge everything all the time in a good way. We
Nicely.
challenge the business partners and push them. We challenge the status quo. We challenge past decisions. We challenge current decisions, right? We are always the ones shouting, but why are we doing this? Like, why did we decide to go down that path? So why shouldn't
Yeah.
we?
And I think it's a add on to the being curious part, but I would say, I don't know exactly percentage splits, but we're both very much internally focused as well as externally focused. So, building the relationships internally and understanding our business and going deep in certain areas. And that's why, Anna and I kind of divide and conquer across functional lines so we can go deeper. She can really understand how warehousing works, and I can really understand what are our critical pillars in marketing, for example. So, more on the operations and commercial. So going deep into our organization, but also building those networks externally as well. So, it comes with the curiosity, it comes with the ability to map out, network, build relationships, all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, no, relationships are critical. I think this is how we get things done internally and externally. Right? It's all about the relationships that we have with
Very
different.
much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you both. This has been such an interesting conversation. Don't even want it to end, but thank you for this. And Denny, Women in Data, thank you for giving us the opportunity and this platform to have this discussion.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both to Jenny and Eden, but also thank you to Kim. You did a fantastic job moderating. it does take a lot of work to do that in asking thoughtful questions that we can actually learn from. So thank you for sharing your insight for that. I do just want to share a quick reminder of our upcoming events because we do have some fantastic events coming up, especially with PepsiCo again, with Athena, who is the Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer at PepsiCo. So I'll be posting the link to those events right now in the chat. So if you want to register for any of these events, they're free for anyone to join in. Please feel free. This is a part of our Data Horizon series. So a, a broad overview of what AI is shaping out in each industry across from either healthcare, public service, finance, just ethics in AI. So thank you all so much, ladies, for sharing your insights and giving us your time today. And we appreciate it. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Thank you so much.
It was a lot of
Thanks so much.
fun. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.